This is Billionario News Channel's High Impact Energy Show. Your hosts, Attorney Aina Magpale, former Commissioner of the Energy Regulatory Commission and Undersecretary of the Department of Energy, Myrna Velasco, book author, energy journalist, and columnist, and Attorney Ivan Galura, Energy and Climate Policy Specialist. This is about hard questions, sharp analysis, and energy conversations that matter. This is Power Shift. High energy, smart conversations.
Pag sinabi kong ang pinakamalaking solar power project sa mundo ay itinatayo ngayon sa Pilipinas, baka isipin nyo, edi kailangan lang ng maraming araw. Sana nga ganun lang kadali. Dahil ang totoo, mas madaling habulin ng sunset kesa magtayo ng solar plant na kaya magpaandar ng milyon-milyong bahay. Sa likod ng bawat solar panel ay hindi lang sikat ng araw. May engineering, permits, transmission lines, financing at libo-libong desisyong kailangang tama. Sa madaling salita, hindi lang araw ang hinahabol, pati deadline sa commercial operation. Chasing the sun is just the easy part. Conquering everything else that is difficult is what could build the world's biggest solar plant in this country.
Isang makabuluhan na usapan na naman ang ating ibabahagi para sa dagdag kaalaman tungkol sa enerhiya. This time, we take a look at the generation sector from the eyes of someone who has been in the industry for almost 2 decades. Up close and personal sa pagkatao, sa loobin, pangarap at adikain ng pinuno ng isa sa pinakamalaking generation companies ng ating bansa.
In our episode tonight, let's look what would take a man to walk away from a well-deserved retirement to face one of the biggest challenges of project development in the power industry. Please welcome the President and Chief Executive Officer of MGEN, the power generation arm of Meralco, Mr. Manny V. Rubio.
We'll start with your career. You've been with Abortis Power for the longest time. It's like more than 20 years?
17 years.
17 years. And I've seen you in that role helping grow the business of Abortis Power. The shift that you would have to do from that role in another company to Meralco PowerGen. What made you convince to take that shift? Or to jump to the other things?
I've been appointed President and CEO of Abortis Power in January of 2020. And then availed for my retirement when I turned 60 in 2024. And at that time, I got an extension request and I thank the boys, my boss, Sabin, no, for giving me that extension. But when I turned 60 and I'm retirable, I told Sabin that my successors are actually more than ready. No, Daniel is there, the CFO, Sandro, can really support Daniel. So I decided that it's time to go. And so happened that the MVP is looking for someone to lead MGEN, and that opportunity came, and I took it.
Yeah. But what is the point in the decision that made you say yes?
MGEN is poised to for growth. We have a desire to really grow the portfolio. I think my mindset is aligned with MVP's mindset of making sure that we build assets from the ground up, in achieving an energy transition for Meralco. And imagine we're supported by Meralco, the biggest distribution utility in the Philippines, and we're allowed to actually supply Meralco at least 50% of their peak demand, no? And we're far from that when I started, and I saw that as a tremendous opportunity for building plants and helping the franchise to actually have access to more stable, secured, and affordable energy.
What about the sweldo factor? Questions na tinanong ni MVP na medyo nahirapan kang sagutin.
Yung mga not really MVP, but I think when I joined, where's my loyalty?
Yes.
Diba?
I think I asked
Abortis
that
pa,
question.
my question, who's my employer? And look at what I delivered, right?
Yeah. So that
Who can question what we've delivered so far?
loyalty ends where
Well,
you
no,
are implied with, or
friendships,
how?
friendships stay.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You keep them.
But loyalty is a different. I mean, definition of loyalty, right? I work for MGEN, so I am Gen. But friendships and relationships stay.
I believe that this really shows, Manny, that retirement is a myth for us who continue our work in the industry. But the challenge really is how to grow again this new, well, it's not a
Business
new
platform,
company,
yeah.
but the business model wherein renewable energy is taking the primary
Yes.
role. Or
Yeah.
so where are we? Where are you at that?
When I was with my previous employer, we've grown. No? In fact, I think if I remember it correctly, the vision was to have 4,000 megawatts of
And you started
Yes.
at the time na maliit sila.
2,000,
You were
2,000
quite
megawatts.
starting.
And then we were able to achieve that, right? And grow further through building, through acquisition. But when we shifted, we were already also building significant capacities of renewable energy, but not at the scale
That
And-
that
and-
MGEN is doing now.
And I said, siguro, this is an organization where I can add more value.
How was that conversation with Sabine, the time that you would have to be in? Hindi ko na itutuloy yung 2-year extension. Kasi you're like a family eh. You've grown with them. The time na lumalaki sila, ikaw yun nandun. Even
Yeah.
for the biddings, acquisition of
Yeah.
power asset.
Imagine I'd been with them for 17 years. No? In fact, more than that, because the company that I used to work for, CIGI, an affiliate of British Oxygen, used to be owned by the 30% by the Aboitises. And my chairman then was an Aboitis. No? In fact, the reason why I'm with the Aboitis Powers through that relationship, I decided to actually shift from working with a multinational company to a local conglomerate. And at that time, I was at the right place, at the right time, at the right company. But then, when I was at the crossroads, 60 years old, I can retire. My successor was ready, and it's the time. And I'd probably be doing the company a disservice if I stayed.
Can I just add some bit of trivia to it? Because I heard something. Somebody brought you to the car on your last day of office, and it was an emotional goodbye. Is that true?
Goodbyes are always emotional. But I don't know if someone brought me to my car.
This is with one person. Tama. Your successor.
No, but well, I owe Aboitis a lot, right? Imagine 17 years, and I've grown, di ba?
Yeah.
They gave me the chance, they gave me the opportunity to be where I am today in my career, and I guess all the learnings, the experience, I'm now using in MGEN.
And just speaking of MGEN as Romanian, it was mentioned earlier that the goal is to help Meralco, the entire group transition to cleaner energy, right? So in terms of the RE portfolio, what's your design there? I mean, what particular technology of RE ang sinishape natin for MGEN for now and in the future?
Yeah. Now we're seeing the impact of variable renewable energy into the grid.
Yes.
To a certain extent, in fact, NGCP is now being very cautious in connecting, in actually even doing SIS, those system impact studies for sizable renewable energy projects. And that's why our project, Terra Solar, with a significant battery capacity behind it, to balance our own output and to deliver a block of power from 8 in the morning to 9 p.m., I think would be the model that will actually allow us to transition without much issue with the grid. With solar, you need to have land, right?
Yes.
And when I took on the project, we didn't have we haven't acquired all the land that is necessary to build the 3,500 megawatt peak of solar. No, at that time, if I'm not mistaken, probably 45% have only been acquired. So we were buying as we go and buying and pricing it in a way that that prices are actually managed. No, so that's one. Second is that it's the land that we're able to buy after the 45% are not contiguous So
so
it's
it's
in clusters,
kalat-kalat.
kalat, no? That we have to redesign the original design of the EPCs, because we have two EPCs, and connect them according to the land that we were able to buy. So we were designing it as we go. Okay, but despite that, we signed the EPC and issued the notice to proceed November of 2024. 15 months on, we now have
You're there.
close to 1,200 megawatts of solar panels, no? And we expect that by July of 2026, we will have 1,455 megawatts. Actually, in line with the delivery schedule of our contract, of our commitment
Of the
to
original.
Meralco,
Of the original.
yeah.
Would you say that power reliability right now is an issue with the intermittency, considering that the burden, for lack of a better term, the burden of ensuring reliability is right now on the developer? Should this shift somewhere along the line?
We're seeing that. No? We're seeing that reliability is getting to be a concern, given the variability of solar and wind. No? And that's why the industry, PIPA, NGCP, of course, DOE, are looking at ways in order to manage this variability. We're reviewing the grid code. Right, we're reviewing the required regulating reserves.
Yes.
And in our case, for Terra Solar, we made sure that our batteries are able to provide grid forming capability to address voltage fluctuation. The design of Terra Solar is one of the criteria in designing it. The way we've designed it is to
avoid
that situation. Because we have to deliver just a block, no? And it's a combination now of the battery kicking in when there's certain variability. And when we have excess, then we can charge the battery.
Siguro for the public, paano nila intindihin yung variability tsaka reliability?
When I say variable, let's say 100 megawatts yung solar. In fact, sometimes in seconds bumabagsak, no? Malikot yung output, no?
And what causes that? Konting
Cloud
ulap lang.
formation,
Cloud
konting ulap
formation,
lang.
kahit yung dumaan lang, di ba?
Yeah, siguro just to give context to that, 100 megawatts, minsan bumababa ng 20 megawatts,
In an instant.
30, 40, balik ng 10, right? Mga ganun.
Fluctuation.
Ganun kalaki yung yung movements, no? And that's why batteries being able to react fast will be able to resolve those issues, no?
And we'll be back for more unfiltered conversations with Mr. Manny Rubio, because stories this big don't end in one sitting. They keep building, just like the power that MGEN helps create. Ayan, narinig natin ang unretirement experience ni Manny at ang mga hinaharap niya na pagsubok sa bagong responsibilidad niya sa MGEN. Alam mo, Ivan, hindi talaga madali kung ang alam mo sa buhay mo, magre-retire ka na. And then suddenly, ibabalik ka na naman into the field, di ba? And that's exactly what happened to Sir Manny. Hanggang ngayon, Sir Manny pa rin ang...
Yun nga, Atty. Aina, no? Kasi ang tagal din niya sa industriya bago niya pinamunuan itong MGEN. Mahigit isang dekada din siya dun sa nauna niyang kumpanya. Akala mo nakapahinga ka na, akala mo okay ka na, magbibuild ka ng retirement mo, tapos tinawag ka uli ng industriya. Pero kasi sa isang kagaya niya na malawak ang karanasan, malaki pa rin kasi ang maiaambag sa industriya, kaya siya naibalik.
Totoo yan. At higit sa lahat, napaka-dynamic at progresibo kasi ng ating industriya. So kung ano man yung mga challenges na dumating sa buhay niya nung nakaraan niya na posisyon, sigurado ako na hihigitan pa yan dahil nagbabago nagde-develop ang teknolohiya and even the landscape ng ating bansa, nagbabago ang mga administrasyon, nag-iiba ang mga patakaran din, di ba? So, tingnan kaya natin how will Manny navigate this section or this period in his life, di ba? So now, let's hear how Manny assesses the portfolio of plants our system needs and where MGEN places itself in all this.
For Terra, yung capacity na battery na dineploy natin, Sir Manny, how is it like in proportion to the entire
The
capacity?
battery that we have is 1,000 1,300 megawatts of capacity, but 4,700 megawatt hours of energy. While the AC capacity of all our solar panels are 2,400 megawatts. So almost 1-to-1.
May function si Terra Solar eh. Mid-merit capacity. Paano i-explain yun? Kasi kailangan natin 24/7. So kailangan, whole day may kuryente. Tapos meron nga yung sinasabi mo na paiba-iba yung availability ng power. Ano yung function ng mid-merit?
Well,
Sa buong
when we say mid-merit for to explain to a layman, yung tumatakbo ng 13 hours to 14 hours per day.
Pag solar, ang pinakauna dyan na talagang kakainin is lupa eh. Literally, kakain siya ng lupa. It would have competition with the food chain. How have you been avoiding yung Farmageddon phenomenon?
When I was with APT, mga nire-raise yung concern, there has to be a discussion on food security.
Yeah.
We're
The
concerned
next
at that time about energy security, but we should put on the table also food security. The thing with our land in Nueva Ecija, it's still agriculture. Most of the central plains of Luzon, central plain of Luzon is mostly agriculture, but it's not rice. At one time daw, and there's still mango trees planted.
Around.
Nagkaroon ng pestilence. Right? Hindi tumubo. Duarte. Maraming ganon. Tas puro shrubs na lang yung naiwan. So, it's not a rice land.
Tsaka livestock daw. May mga livestock.
Poultry, mga poultry, in fact, naiwan eh. Kaya nga
Nandun pa.
naging clusters eh. Yung mga chicken farms, they decided not to sell.
Ilang hectares yung kinailangan nyo for the entire project? Just for that?
Yeah,
Yes.
for the 3,500 megawatt peak solar panels, plus the towers, plus the interconnecting land for
Plus
the
batteries,
cables,
yeah.
almost 3,950 hectares. And more important, I think for us, is also repeatability. Diba? Kasi we'd like to learn from projects. We've learned a lot in Terra Solar. So when we do Terra Solar 2, all the learnings there will be applied to Terra Solar 2. So a lot of innovation. In fact, in the Philippines today, maybe the most innovative project in the country is this Terra Solar.
Terra Solar. Yeah.
With a combination of
Battery.
energy storage with that capacity.
May AI ba kayong gagamitin
So,
sa Terra Solar?
and that's what we're looking for now. With so much energy storage capacity, I need to make sure that we optimize output of solar versus charging. And I want to go beyond the 9-hour delivery.
Will all of this renewable energy, including the battery storage, have an impact on pricing?
I think it's a myth when people say, oh, it's cheap because it's free. It's coming from the sun,
Yeah.
coming from the wind.
There's a
But
technology
but
behind
the
it.
system cost.
Yeah.
The system cost to make sure that energy remains stable, remains sustainable, right, is pricey. Because you need gas plants, you need batteries, the pump storage that DOE awarded in JF3, no? All of those are required to actually manage the system. Kaya minsan I ask DOE, no? If once we achieve our goal of 50% RE by 2040, what's the system cost? What's the LCOE? We should not be talking about LCOE. What's the FCOE? Full cost of electricity. I think we really need to understand that, and so that people are aware with this shift, how will it look like?
Pero ang sinasabi rin naman kasi talaga nila, hindi mo mabibigyan ng halaga or pecuniary benefit the sustainability, the regenerative nature
I'm
of
I'm only certain about two things. Climate change is real, and we really need to transition to a cleaner future.
You've been developing both maliliit na solar plants and then super malaki. Ano yung sweet spot tsaka challenges ng parehong development?
One criteria that solar developers consider, in building, well, one is size, pero I think it's really the connection distance
Yes.
to the transmission.
Kasi maliit or malaki, halos pareho.
Pareho lang,
Pareho.
di ba? So, say if you have a 10 megawatt, 10 hectares of land and you can build 10 hectares, if the connection is like 1 kilometer away,
malayo.
no, pwede na.
Pwede.
You can do it, no? Pero, say, you have, even say 100 hectares and you can build 100
But
megawatts.
if the
connection is
connection
like 30
is-
kilometers
yeah.
away, I say, can we move on to another project? CP was also guided by the CREST program in their transmission development.
And Terra Solar, mga 10 kilometers or less.
13.
13. So
Yeah.
at least
So midway.
within the range.
Yeah, but it's what 3,500 megawatt,
Megawatt.
peak, no? So almost negligible yung cost nung connection.
There a tipping point ka na nakikita when it comes to dominance of clean energy.
We are seeing the trend right now, and one of the signals of that trend is of course Terra Solar, right? Now a combination of variable renewable energy and battery storage
Yeah.
can compete and could be more competitive than a traditional source of mid-merit. And we are seeing batteries to become cheaper, with longer duration batteries, no?
The eldest. Yung
When would that be?
long-duration energy storage.
5 years from now, 10 years from now. So the tipping point is when variable renewable energy and a combination of that and energy storage becomes more competitive or as
In
just
pricing.
competitive than base load like coal.
Other technologies, solar rooftop, do you have that? Or floating solar, offshore wind, onshore?
Well, if we can find a suitable partner, because we don't know the technology, right? We'll partner with someone who really knows what they're doing, then we're open. Offshore wind, I just find it too expensive. If we really want to attract hyperscalers, I think there needs to be a review of the whole structure and structural reforms needed. Can we embed plants without any capacity limits? Idikit mo talaga yung data center sa planta, specific, just supplying that data center. If you can really purposely design a system to lower, yun ang primary driver, lower cost and not zero carbon, low carbon supply. I don't think we can.
Hindi
to ask
natin
for
kakayanin yung
carbon.
zero.
And that low carbon supply should be a combination,
A combination of gas
Okay.
and variable renewable energy with battery.
Yung development terrain kasi ng MGEN, mix siya. So you have base load,
Yes.
you have mid-merit, meron kayong RE na may variability. What is the need of the system? Ano ba talaga ang kailangan natin? Kasi 20 gigawatts of contract awarding for RE. Do we really need it? Or baka may kailangan tayong iba? Kasi parang yung base load capacity, kulang na kulang din tayo.
Well, my view, with regard to this, I think the portfolio should be determined by market forces. Kasi yun yung nagdedetermine. Ano ba yung kailangan? Ano ba yung,
It's a business decision.
Ba yung mura? Business
Yeah.
decision, di ba?
And you're part of that market forces. So
Yeah.
what's the view?
And that's why we believe that coal plants that are outside of the moratorium should be built, because today that's still the lowest cost source of stable, secured electricity and reliable security, right? And there's one building in Cebu. We're building a 74 megawatt net in Cebu as well, in Toledo. Once we're successful in participating in a CSP or a capacity auction that DOE is talking about in Luzon, then we can actually build Atimonan. We're ready to build Atimonan. We're ready to participate in an auction or a CSP for Atimonan. So in MGEN, when this 900 megawatt baseload auction happens, I don't know when, right? I hope soon. We're even thinking that if we kasi Dax naman yan, I think, no? Marami rin kami mga kalaban dyan. I'm sure Sir Miguel will participate. I'm sure Boites will participate. As long as we get, say, at least 300, we'll take it. And
It's a go.
Our rest, whether it's Empower or MGEN rest,
We'll take the rest.
will underwrite the capacity. And we've talked to banks, and that's, again, maybe magsishift yung debt equity ratio to manage the risk of
Coal.
a non-long-term contract, taking the cudgels of underwriting the capacity, but we can manage that.
Speaking of Atimonan, Sir Manny, you mentioned earlier that one of the things that are inevitable, as you mentioned, is climate change. In the context of climate change, of course, the biggest elephant in the room is Atimonan. You received an extension for that under the DOE. I mean, finally, you have some clarity on it, right? But there was also a requirement for you to transition it at some point. So how is that?
Yeah, one of the conditions set by DOE for us to be allowed to build Atty is that by 2050, it should be able to burn or combust an alternative fuel. So if it's a coal plant, then most probably it's going to be ammonia.
Co-firing.
And co-firing with ammonia and varying percentages. Again, today Japan is leading that, no? both for hydrogen and ammonia. And the only reason why Japan can use it is because there's subsidy from government. But let them develop it and let's see what happens in the future. But we are also ready that just in case there's no alternative fuel or the alternative fuel is not economically viable, then we'll shut it down, we'll mothball it. And that's why I think we're also ready to grow our LNG
Portfolio.
chromite to the gas to our JV with the Boitis chromite gas.
You're saying na definitely coal would still be the necessary evil para mag-grow yung economy ng country. Yung use for Atimonan, if it would push to, would be ultra supercritical. What does that mean compared to the other technologies?
Yeah, ultra supercritical. Well, today in the Philippines, there's subcritical, the older plants, and then there's supercritical. Some of them in Bataan, no. JNPD is there. San Benaventura is supercritical.
Yes, supercritical.
And then ultra supercritical, which is what we're building. It's just a difference in higher. It's operating in higher temperatures, higher pressure. So with that, there's more heat generated with less fuel requirement.
And less emissions compared
Less
to
fuel,
Compared
less
to
coal,
the
less
regular.
emissions, yes.
But cost-wise, we're still looking at coal as a very variable also pass-through cost. We've seen how coal prices have gone up and down.
Well,
And
compared to LNG, I think
well,
coal
yes.
is less volatile in terms of pricing. No? And we have a Philippines. Unfortunately, we don't have substantial deposits of coal. Also, Mirara is there, but limited. No? So the source of our fuel is
Indonesia.
And okay, there are actually instances where Indonesia would come up with policies
New
that would
policies
affect,
again, like now.
we cannot export. Yeah.
diba? Or limit it or provide quota, which affects the index. Now it's ICI 4. No? We got away from nuke, so which is I think more stable. So again, no, with that, I think coal will, as I said, it's far more stable than in terms of pricing than LNG. So should not be really a concern.
Atimonan is originally designed as a 1,200 megawatt. Is it still?
It is still 1,000.
And we still think that there is a market for long-term contracts for that size in the next.
Well, what we're eyeing at is this 900 megawatt baseload CSP of Meralco in their power procurement plan. The next requirement would be 900. I think the IE 2030 delivery, which is actually very much aligned with when we can deliver that plant.
When we return, we will dive into Mr. Rubio's sharp take on the Philippine power landscape. What's broken, what needs immediate fixing, and how MGEN is stepping in to help turn the tide.
Sa bawat episode natin ay lagi natin kasama ang ating mga kababayan. At sa linggong ito, alamin naman natin ang kanilang saloobin kung dapat nga bang payagan ng gobyerno na gawing solar farms ang mga dating sakahan. O yung tinatawag natin na pwede magkaroon ng food versus energy competition.
Dapat sana para mas makakaluwag sa mga bayarin ng lalo na yung sa mga mahirap, lalo na sa mga taga-probinsya. Ganun sana po. Sana payagan ng gobyerno yung solar solar power na
May pinagpapaaral ako na pamangkin ko. Siyempre, masasave ko na po yung pang-kuryente, masasave ko na po yung sa kuryente. Maidagdag ko na po sa pagpapaaral ng pamangkin ko po.
Depende. Kasi dapat muna isaalang-alang yung kondisyon pa rin ng mga natao na sa komunidad kung saan pwedeng patayuan yung mga solar farm kasi may mga advantage at saka disadvantage po ito. At pangalawa, kung it's on the bigger purpose, sa mga kabenepisyo din ito, posible rin yung pagpapatayo ng mga ganitong kung it's more of the good of the community. Pero kailangan pa rin isa-alang-alang yung dun sa community mismo na mas beneficial pa rin sa part nila.
Beyond solar, MGEN isn't putting all its eggs in one sunny basket. Right balance, ika nga. So the company is also betting on gas, LNG, not just in the Philippines but also in Singapore. And yes, it is even looking at rekindling an old romance with coal plants. Ayan na nga ba ang sinasabi ko, Ivan Parang hindi tayo makakawala talaga sa mga conventional forms of energy. Sa tingin mo kaya, malayo pa bago tayo maka-let go at maka-move on?
Mukhang ganun niya, Attorney Aina. No? MGEN is one of the 5 biggest power generation companies in the country. And based on our conversations with Mr. Manny Rubio, sinabi niya rin ito, malakas ang pivot ng MGEN pagdating sa RE. They understand that the future lies in RE as well. But at the same time, hindi rin sila basta-basta bumibitaw sa mga conventional, gaya ng sabi mo, Attorney Aina, which includes coal. Yes. In fact, sa kanila yung, napag-usapan din natin with Mr. Manny, yung kanilang Atimonan plant sa Quezon, isa ito sa one of their more controversial plants. Pero nilinaw kasi ng DOE mga ilang buwan nang nakakaraan na exempted naman siya doon sa tinatawag na coal moratorium. Ano nga ba yun, Attorney Aina?
Yung coal moratorium, ang ibig sabihin is wala nang itatayo ng mga bagong planta ng mga coal or conventional power. Kaya lang, kinikilala pa rin ng DOE na kung nandun na in the pipeline yung mga projects na ito, whether standalone or additional units, mukhang pinapayagan pa rin, lalo na dahil kinikilala rin na kailangan pa rin natin itong mga plantang ito for baseload capacity. Ano yung baseload capacity? Yung dapat 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year na umaandar yung plantang yon.
Malaking bagay ito, Attorney Aina, kasi recently, itong katatapos lamang na summer, paulit-ulit tayo ng red alerts na naman. I think Visayas right now, yung mga kababayan natin sa Visayas, ang dami pa rin nilang problema pagdating sa tight na supply. And coal is supposed to provide one of the more reliable, one of the more firm capacity.
Oo, totoo yan. At even with the upcoming mga renewable energy auctions at yung target natin na mukhang makukuha talaga natin, mahalaga rin yung tinatawag natin na system integration nitong mga renewable energy na ito para masigurado na yung kanilang pagiging intermittent ay hindi makakasira.
O variable.
Hindi makakasira doon sa tinatawag natin na grid integrity. Di ba?
Malaking bagay yan, Attorney Aina. Sa industriya natin, meron din tayo tinatawag na just transition, tama. Ito yung hindi ka lang basta-basta magta-transition patungo sa mas malinis na kuryente. Dapat manage din ito, dahan-dahan at responsible. Kasi kung bigla mong ipapasok ang variable RE, kukompromiso yung grid at madalas ka magkakaroon ng brownout.
Yung gas strategy niyo, kasi like 2 major players in the country. So it's the other one, and then the partnership that you have, the triumvirate between MGEN, San Miguel, and Octobers. Yeah. But you being the major shareholder of that asset, and then you have Pacific Light in Singapore. Paano strategy that you would have to do when it comes to business?
Let's talk about the
Chromite first.
Chromite first. Well, the PCC condition of chromite does not give any of the partner an advantage, whether you own 40% or 33% or 27%. Everyone's got same equal voting rights.
But who does
one third. That's operations decisions, right? When we are actually discussing the served matters to comply with PCC conditions. In fact, the people are independent of the companies or the shareholders. There are people there, ex-MGEN, but they decide from MGEN.
Okay.
China Wall.
And the one that provides the direction is just the board, represented by the shareholding. But the voting is still 1/3.
So equal voting regardless of amount.
Yes.
So you have to love each other even
Isn't that
if you only agree on some.
No, but I think the goals are aligned. Energy security.
There's a
right?
common
Least cost.
vision.
There's a common vision, right? A common driver across the 3 partners for LNGPH, for the gas plants. But outside of it, in the contestable market, Kami-kami
it's,
nag-aaway, di ba? Babaan ang presyo, di ba?
But how do you harmonize decisions if you agree to disagree?
So far, we have not had that. We have not been in that situation yet. As I said, the aligned goals, aligned vision. So I think at the end of the day, if we get into that situation, it will be up to the principals.
Going back lang to LNG PH, Sir Manny, what is the timeline for that, and what's the off-taker for the output?
We're fully operational. We're contracted 1,200 megawatts with Meralco for excellent energy and 1,200 megawatts for what used to be the Ilian plant, no? SPPC, South Premier, also with Meralco to provide base loads. The synergies that I'm exploiting, that MGEN is exploiting, is that one, technical, right? We get people, especially during the due diligence, we used PLP people to review. If we have issues, we consult PLP. No? They're far more experienced, right? And if there's an opportunity, we can send people from our gas plants here to Singapore. Although it's smaller, and that's a different. And we're building our first H-class plant there, and in the future.
That's 100 megawatt.
No, the 100 is similar to the gas turbine that we have here, the SGT 800. But we are building the new one, the most efficient and the largest gas plant in Singapore, 670 megawatts, delivered in 2029.
Can you expound a bit more on the Singapore business, the expansion plans, and how do you plan to grow that further?
Yeah, well, Singapore is a purely merchant market. No? People can shift suppliers every 3 months.
At the household.
Yes.
At household levels.
Yeah.
No?
Purely
Of course,
contestable
commercial,
na sila.
industrial, medyo for stability, they would
May mga
contract
3 weeks
for-
pa na sila ang
for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. The longest I've seen, at least about as far as I know, is like 5 years. No, and that's why when we decided to participate in the it's
that
not an auction. It's almost like a beauty contest. No, you don't bid. You just submit what you are planning to bid, and hopefully
You hope to get chosen.
And because yours is the
Best.
technically supreme, no, than the
Appealing.
maybe appealing, but I think what we
Sexiest.
did, sexiest. What we did was actually we bundled it with the 97 megawatt hour battery, because Singapore's plan is also to bring in variable renewable energy from neighboring islands.
Yeah.
And we have a conditional license to export 600 megawatts of base load battery and solar from an island called Bulan, about 34 kilometers away from Singapore.
Indonesia.
Through subsea cable, yeah. And we're discussing now certain conditions that we'd like to also put in place.
What have you been learning from Singapore business or Philippine business that you apply to both? Or eto kailangan natin iwasan kasi hindi ka maganda nangyari sa Singapore. Or eto kailangan
Best
iwasan.
practices, kumbaga.
Yeah, well, for one, because of the market structure in Singapore, it's we're learning from it as our contestability goes lower, right? Now 100 kilowatts.
Yes.
So
By
talaga,
June
household,
26.
we're in fact looking at the app that PLB has, no, and use it in MGEN Res and Empower.
And Empower is also under...
I'm no.
Or
It's
paano
a Meralco subsidiary. But recently the management and governance was assigned to me. Yeah, so I'm looking after Empower now.
On the contestability, ano sa palagay mo yung bentahin ng Empower or Meralco pagdating sa customer, especially the time that it would reach yung household level?
Empower, being an affiliate of Meralco, of course, has got an advantage, because we have information, we have data on the.
What can you say about the ability of the contestable customer or the captive, the customer, the consumer? How savvy are they now to be able to understand their own demand and shift towards that contestability?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing that I've noticed with Meralco is that the way they actually educate the customers in the franchise areas, I think really good. No?
Yeah.
Ang daming programs.
Yeah.
There's a group in Meralco just really looking after customers, educating customers, communicating to the customers, products that are available, service, service interruption, and even how to access some of the things beyond supply of energy.
Value-added services.
Value-added services. No? Kaya, well, because the size also allows Meralco
Yes.
to do that.
And more perspectives really are on the way when we return in our continuing interview with Mr. Manny Rubio.
Welcome back to Power Shift. Managing massive renewables and securing our grid against unpredictable weather means it is no longer enough to look at the ground level. We also have to look to the skies. Beyond its giant solar plant in the Philippines, MGEN isn't stopping at home turf. It's also gearing up for bigger battles on investments overseas. At yan ang alamin natin in our continuing sit-down with Mr. Rubio.
Meralco, Terra Solar Philippines Inc., Solar Philippines New Energy Corporation, MGEN Renewable Energy Inc., and other partners behind these projects. Your efforts have shown that we can forge ahead as key players in the world's energy revolution. The Terra Solar Power Project is designed to address two critical challenges of our time: the surging demand for electricity and the pressing need to shift to renewable and sustainable sources of that energy.
MVP, Manny Pangilinan, was quoted several weeks ago by saying na nakikita niya in the foreseeable future, malaking share ng income ni Meralco is going to come from MGEN,
Yeah.
the generation portfolio. How is it like dealing with that pressure, and how do you ensure that you're able to keep on delivering?
MGEN is not driven by aiming for a certain ratio in terms of income with Meralco. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the delivery of our committed capacity.
Okay.
Now, if it will
Whether
result
it
to a
is for
certain-
Meralco or...
if it will result to a certain ratio of income between Meralco, then so be it, right? But I'm saying by 2030, we will have net attributable capacity in RE, 1,800 megawatts, and then we will continue to grow base load through gas, and hopefully we can still build Atimona, no? And as we are building actually on like maybe the last coal plant in Cebu, I'm not competing with
In the Philippines.
So,
the parent, yeah.
yeah, I have my own targets.
Yeah.
And yours really is to grow the portfolio of MGEN.
Exactly. Whether you're supplying Meralco or capacity auction or JAP or grow in Singapore,
And
doesn't matter.
On the financial aspect of things. Because the time that you were starting some projects, you were not there yet at that time. You lean on the parent for financing.
Yes.
Have you reached a point na medyo, Pap,
Kaya
I'm
na.
okay na, kaya ko na.
We're doing that in some, the smaller projects.
So kailangan
Like,
mayaman pa rin si Papa.
Oh, yeah.
Sa kanya.
Not small. No, especially for major projects, right? But now LNGPH is now on their own. Before it was really Meralco, and now
Yeah.
we're
Driving
available
it.
financing, and we'll push up the proceeds of that financing to the parent.
Beyond Singapore na expansion.
The natural destination will be Malaysia, go up the peninsula. We're looking also at Thailand because of, say, our partnerships with EGCO
Yeah.
in sa Billionario. We're
Yeah.
starting that discussion whether they're open to allow us into
and this is going to
Thailand.
be within your tenure.
And what kind of technology, if ever?
Renewables and gas.
Yes.
Yeah, for Malaysia.
As was speaking gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Malaysia is definitely gas.
That generation mix is bringing you from renewables to coal, LNG. Now there are small modular nuclear reactors that MGEN is looking into. What's this like?
We have this grant. No? In fact, when I was with my former employer, I was the one leading, looking at nuclear. No? And at that time, talagang, I really believed that SMRs would be the future at that time. To the extent that I actually visited, or I was with one of the suppliers that talagang you could really shortlist the SMR players. You know? And they were supposed to have a financial close or a decision gate in December 2023 of this 900 megawatt SMR in Idaho Falls.
This was Rolls-Royce or
No,
Muscle?
New Scale, right? So we were there, and then we were at the site, no? But then finding out information that just siting cost alone cost them $300 million.
Siting pa lang yan, ha?
Siting pa lang yun.
I can just imagine. Yeah,
regulatory
the International
standards.
Actually,
Energy
yung upfront
Agency.
is very, upfront cost is very
Yeah,
heavy.
so with that, sabi ko, wow, talaga.
Yeah. Community preparation.
But then in the end, the decision, they forgone the project because they came back to the customers and said that they would have to increase the price.
Okay.
And the utilities of Oregon, Idaho, and
Yeah, the surrounding.
Utah said no.
No.
So hindi natuloy. Right?
So you have to backpedal.
Then I moved to MGEN, and then I found out that they're looking at micro modular reactors. But I told the MVP, sir, whether it's 7 megawatts, 70, 700,
Yeah, the
7,000,
siting, it's the same cost.
stakeholder issues, same siting costs. It's like going nuclear, that's go big. But then, and I'm really happy that Meralco has really taken the lead, no, with regard to sending employees or engineers
Yes.
to
To
learn.
study.
Because the
what you want to
competition now actually is workforce, especially with China.
True.
Yeah. But
Building a lot.
yeah, I think we will need to shift now that we have like I think we have is 12 people outside studying. When they come back, when's the next? Realistically, when's the next? When is the next solar nuclear project in the Philippines?
How do you draw battle lines now between partnerships and competition? Because you have partners and also competitors. Parang pareho yung pwedeng yung partner, pareho yung pwedeng yung competitor.
At the end of the day, it's really what's driving it is probably the size of the project. Right? There are projects that can only be done through a consortium, which I think is the case
Yeah.
in gas.
Yeah, and yes.
Nuclear. I think it will have to be a consortium. In fact, I'm thinking, no, when we have that, say in 2035, 2040, who's going to be the off-taker? Again, is it just the biggest TU? The issue with Meralco is because they're the biggest. They're the ones constrained to buy gas, and now they're biggest to buy nuclear. Well, the rest
They're a
can
class
buy,
of their own.
diba?
Right.
So I think what an option to an off-taker would be another auction for the capacity, right? And then maybe what they can do is set up ownership parcels, 30%, 40%, and how much equity
Can
they
they-
to pay for that share. Right? Parang ganun yung ano. So it's going to be spread. Pero outside of any consortium, as on smaller projects, kasi away pa rin sa market, no? Especially as the threshold goes down. Right?
Question about yung variety of partnership that you have. How do you balance all of those views? Kasi magkakaiba yan. Is there difference dun sa approach or the kind of thinking?
Are there
Oo.
significant differences in the
Yeah.
thinking,
No, I think
in the appreciation?
At the end of the day, it's more important than just generations are the cultures of the company that we're dealing with. Diba? Iba siyempre culture ng Sandia, iba culture ng Poix, iba culture ng Meralco. And
And how do you describe all of those owners?
then at the end of the day, it's really the goals, the vision. And we really have to be aligned on that. Because that's the one that will drive the thinking and the way we operate and the way we will
And that unifying vision is what? If you would have to give it one word.
economic progress. Making sure that the country has enough power that's cost effective to power the economy. I've worked with two nation builders, Sabine, before that Monju, and now MVP, right? And hand in heart, I can say that the goal is really to uplift the country. Kasi, well, we're present in most areas, right? When the country gets sick. We feel it eh.
Everybody
Di ba?
gets sick.
Gets sick, right?
That's the point. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no one solution. Or,
And the power sector isn't...
It's one of the primary drivers.
Yes.
What is that you would want to achieve naman as legacy sa Meralco
Okay.
PowerGen?
You know, good thing you asked that because I've told people, many people, this thinking, my thinking about legacies.
Yeah.
Kasi sabi ko, I don't really care about legacies because legacies are something, my definition is something
Yeah.
that you leave behind that the next generation is going to blame you for. When I was being interviewed by MVP, I sensed that he really knows he has a view of the end structure, and he was able to articulate that, and I can relate to that. Right?
Okay.
Talaga, energy transition, big. He wants Meralco to lead the transition and to be viewed as the one leading it. Both in the Philippines and in the region. In fact, may goal na kami na we also want to be big in the region. That's why recently we announced that we are looking at projects in Malaysia. No?
So it's
And,
ASEAN.
we continue through Singapore. So I think what I'd like to be remembered for discussions like this, my inputs in policies, right? Of course, the physical plants that I can say that I helped
Yeah.
build. You know what I'm really proud of? The hydros that we rehabilitated in
It
SM
would still be remembered because
Yeah,
of
kasi
the
yun
work
yung
that
first
you've
ano ko
done.
eh. Baptism of fire yun eh. Imagine, di ba? Yung Magat, right? A Buklao, imagine, mothballed since the earthquake and we're able to run it, no? And build
increase
it.
the capacity.
Increase the capacity. Binga, the one important measure that we should measure ourselves with is if we have made a difference in the lives of the people that live within the communities where we operate. And that also considers, well, are we able to provide ample power, stable power, cost-effective power? At kaya laging yun ang laging yun ang thinking. When we in Nueva Ecija, right? It's a different world now compared to say in 2024. I think we've opened 6 public markets because of the 12,000 people that are actually there now.
The economic enterprise that goes with the
That goes with that,
establishment of
diba?
the...
Yes.
And sabi ko, I think let's wait.
And the infra as well. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And the roads that we've built, no, to access the
Jobs,
facility.
livelihood,
Yeah.
opportunities.
Sa banana queue na lang na nabebenta doon, sa lahat ng tricycle na pwedeng magano. I mean, it goes down to the community.
And yung mga yung mga hotels and restaurants,
Yes.
Yeah.
talagang
Nag-boom.
nag-thrive, no?
Yeah.
And then one thing that that we're proud of is that we were able to train now and certify through TESDA more than 600 electric installations, wiring.
Local.
Local.
These are local.
Well, the thing is, Nueva Ecija doesn't have the 12,000 people
Yes.
eh. So, kami,
Yeah.
pinakamaraming galing Bicol, imagine.
Pwede ka nang tumakbong governor. Yeah,
So, yun.
Yes.
So, I think, well,
Even at
we made a
Timona, may
difference.
co-ops na kayo, di ba?
Meron
Even
na,
you've not
meron na,
started
yeah.
pa. Oo.
Making a difference in the lives of the people that live within the community where we operate.
Yeah.
One thing that I made sure when I joined MGEN is that we have the right culture to drive the growth strategy. At kaya sabi ko, the strategy will drive culture. And that's very important. And to drive the right culture, I need to have the right people with the right mindset. Di ba? Kaya, again, in some interviews, I said that when I hire people, I hire for character and because we can easily train for skills. Kasi when you hire naman, you
That's
hire
true.
for competence, di ba? But the skills needed, madali yan eh. As long as you hire the right people. Pero mas mahirap hanapin.
Yung may mindset.
Yes.
EQ
Mindset
tayo,
similar.
EQ.
Exactly, right? Similar to yours that, you know, you can almost finish each other's sentence. Ganun kami ngayon sa MGEN. No? Kaya, parang if you term it, solid yung team. No? And I think this is the team that I'll bring forward really in delivering more projects for MGEN.
Sa haba ng ating interview, Mr. Manny Rubio, baka nagtataka ang ating mga power shifters kung bakit hindi natin kasama si Myrna Velasco dito sa ating
Bakit nga ba,
studio
Atty.
ngayon.
Paliwanag lang natin.
Hindi, ganito na lang yon. Ang sasabihin ko na lang, Myrna, kung nasaan ka mga ngayon, safe travels to you and come back with more interesting news on the energy sector. Di ba, Ivan?
Tama. Miss ka na namin.
The grid won't forgive mistakes, and the future of energy won't be powered by technology alone. It will be built by leaders brave enough to make the tough calls today.
As the world battles climate change and surging demand, the challenge is no longer just generating power. It is doing it responsibly, sustainably, and making sure nobody gets left in the dark.
Behind every switch we turn on is a complex chain of decisions that shapes the country's energy future. This is Power Shift, hard energy, smart conversations.